Hello, friends, and welcome to today's live level up conversation. Happy Monday! Whether you're joining me live or catching me on replay, I'm so grateful to have you here. Let's get started.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market updates. Speed round. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. It is so great to be recapping with you today. I am Winnie, your host, an award winning financial pro, a Forbes and CNBC contributor, and also a CNBC council member. And we are streaming here live in several different social media platforms. So definitely jump in, say hello, let me know how your weekend went, and where you're joining me from. I mean, that's always fun. It's always wonderful to see people from all over the globe. I see Joshua at CrossX Spider already jumping in. I know a lot of folks joining us these days from Europe, all different countries and whatnot. So it's fun to see where everyone is joining us from. The market hasn't closed yet, but let's start with that because this is certainly some positive news. It's a great way to start the week. In fact, the Dow is currently up 92 points. The Nasdaq is up over 143 points, and the S&P 500 is also in the positive, up about 38 points right now as well. Some good news on the front. In fact, you're seeing some positive gains so far. The market hasn't closed, but we only have half an hour yet to go. So hopefully this positive movement in the markets will continue as the market closes in just a bit. But one of the big news here is, of course, that the announcement that Hamas that they have accepted the Egyptian Quarty ceasefire proposal to end the war in Israel. Hopefully that turns out to be the case and everything works out. And I'm sure we can all agree, no war is definitely the way to go. But hopefully, it continues to improve conditions and relationships there. And we'll just have to sit back and watch because obviously we have no say in that. But hopefully things get better, especially for the communities and the people there and the children there, of course, as well. Now, the stock market continues to experience some positive gains this week, and not partly because a lot of investors are hoping for the potential news of rate cuts on the front of the Federal Reserve. Now, of course, we're seeing some economic indicators that have come out since last week, talking about how non-farm payroll data did show fewer than expected job additions last month, and of course, an increase in unemployment. Now, you might say that shouldn't be a good thing, but in terms of interest rates, it is a good thing because it's showing that the economy is not quite as strong and overheated as the Fed perhaps is thinking. And so there could be a potential that rates could come down a little bit, which would help people who are looking to refinance or purchase a home or to buy a vehicle or whatever scenario would be where you're still paying interest rates. Could also be credit card debt as well, right? But also in terms of corporate earnings, we continue to see more reports coming in, and many significant companies are expected to announce today as well as tomorrow. And so really, so there's been quite a bit of positive news in terms of year over year operating earnings. In fact, Berkshire Hathaway had just announced that they've had nearly a 40% increase in their year over year operating earnings. So congratulations them. But there's certainly a lot of other developments that we have to pay attention to. So we're not quite out of the woods yet. I wouldn't expect the market to completely start to make positive numbers across the board. There's still a lot of things to be worked out, but we'll continue to keep you updated here so we can continue to watch the news. And speaking of things that need to be worked out, get this. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this company, but this company has quite a lot of history, and unfortunately, it looks like it's closing. And that is Sam Ash Music Stores, closing after a century. This was reported in the New York Times by Michael Levinson, talking about how this company they're a musical retail industry giant for over 100 years. They just announced that they'll be closing, unfortunately, all their locations, all 42 of their locations by the end of July, due to, unfortunately, you guessed it, a lot of competition online. So I guess if you're looking for a musical instrument, well, maybe you can check out one of their stores before July if you're looking to try one in person and just get a feel of what that will look like. The first store opened in Brooklyn in 1924, in fact, by founder Sam and Rose Ash. But the company, of course, expanded significantly over the decades because a lot of musicians absolutely love this chain. And unfortunately, now Derek Ash, which is now the company's chief marketing officer, and of course, a family member of the original founders, is just saying that people are just okay with online shopping of these musical instruments that in the past they might want to have gone in to get a feel to see about fit and see how it sounds, but now people are just okay with pretty much buying most everything online. So this decision does follow initial closure of in March, they actually already closed 18 stores and we're hoping that things would get better. But ultimately, they just decided that now they just have to close the stores completely. Now, that is on sort of the heels of Express, who just announced bankruptcy situations there as well. It's just a matter of, it's just kind of a little more daunting to just a matter of all these very large legacy, very iconic stores and brands closing down left and right due to the consumers' interest in buying everything online. Right? Yeah, Vicky Garvey is joining us on Facebook and saying, "Shame the history of music gone." And yes, happy bank holiday to you, Vicky, from the UK. It's great to have you here. Really, thank you for making the time. Um, but yeah, it's unfortunate. And so for those who are part of Sam Ash, the employees and customers all the years, we feel for you. And hopefully, hopefully better days ahead. But I'm sure this transition between now and the end of July isn't going to be too pleasant. But nonetheless, let's segue to our next story. And this is, as you know, Warren Buffett now is in his 90s. And he once again just recently did his big Berkshire Hathaway investors meeting. Okay. And he had quite a bit to share. Now, this was kind of an iconic meeting, if you will, because it's actually the first one where he wasn't joined with his longtime partner, Charlie Munger, who unfortunately did pass away not that long ago. So Warren Buffett, now in his 90s, at this big shareholders meeting once again in Omaha, and talking about his expectations and his view on all things financial. To give you an idea what he has to say, I thought I would showcase a couple things that really hit the radar. And this was, of course, shared on Reuters, talking about Warren's has expressed his expectation that the U.S. might raise taxes to address its widening fiscal deficits, which kind of makes sense, right? Because obviously money doesn't grow on trees, and the US has a significant fiscal deficit, and money has to come from somewhere. And therefore, it's probably going to come from increased taxes for you and I, unfortunately. But Warren has also suggested that instead of just reducing government spending and instead of having us pay more taxes, it's more than likely that that taxes will be increased to manage the fiscal imbalance. But he has some ideas of maybe some other ways to mitigate having us pay too much in taxes. So he talks about that, right? He talks about the federal deficit, which rose from 5.5% to 8.5%, which is expected by 2054 if current tax cuts aren't extended. And he just says he's got a lot of concerns about the current debt level. But nonetheless, he says, although Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, who he calls Jay Powell, is a very, very smart person, he says, but his focus is really on controlling inflation and not so much on the larger challenge, which lies in fiscal policies of the US government and talking about the possible need for adjustments and that increased taxation rather than spending cuts seems like the more sustainable long-term economic strategy. This is according to Warren Buffett. Now, of course, we're hoping that he would give us some other options besides that, but not so much, not yet. Anyway, again, speaking of all things Warren Buffett, he also has more to talk about artificial intelligence. I thought I'd share this with you. This is a story that was shared this week on CNBC by Pia Singh. talking about, and you just thought that AI was something of the new generation and only young people understood AI, but not so much. Of course, Warren Buffett understands this as well. And so at the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholder meeting, Warren talked about the sort of this two-sided approach to artificial intelligence, noting that it has a potential to really improve and have a lot of benefits for all of us, but there's also a lot to be concerned about, and that it could create significant negativity and significant harm as well. And talking about AI as a growth industry, and he was saying that there's a lot of concerns about this technology and what it could do. Not only is it the sort of the potential for the growth industry of all time, but we have to create realistic and misleading, be realistic, but also understand there could be misleading consequences to artificial intelligence as well. And really talking about the concerns about cloning voices, creating deep fake videos and images, a lot of things. So you really can't distinguish whether it's true or false, and really enabling people who don't always have the best things in mind, the scammers, right? To impersonate individuals, leading to more fraud and having that potentially negatively impact you as well as greater humanity. And so, of course, acknowledging that AI has a lot of positive aspects. In fact, Warren even talked about the potential positive of AI, especially with understanding technology and healthcare and whatnot. But knowing that there needs to be some sort of comparison for you and I to be able to identify and to be aware that these are considerations that we need to have when thinking about using and participating in AI, such as really using, almost like he compared this AI to the use of nuclear technology. In fact, that they're saying that just like nuclear weapons, AI is a big deal, and we need to make sure that there are some consequences if it's being used in a negative way, and make sure that there are ways that we can control and mitigate harm as well. So yes, I think that's something that probably all of you have thought about, but just probably sounds a lot smarter when Warren Buffett brings it up, especially since he's like 90 plus years old. In fact, one thing I watched a video from his presentation this week, and one of the things he said I thought was really interesting, and he really talked about Charlie Munger, his best friend, passing away, and him now being in his 90s. And he said, I hope to see you here next year at their annual investor conference. And he says, and I hope to be here as well. And he said, I'm realistic, knowing that I probably shouldn't sign on to another 4-year contract. And he sort of made a jab. He says, like, some people who are similar in age to me who are looking towards that 4-year contract, which I take it to mean, obviously, the presidential election later this year with two senior candidates running for 4 more years in office. So, yeah, so I think that's what Warren's talking about. Now, speaking of all things, I guess, eye opening. This is a new one. I want to end the show with this one because Equinox, get this, is offering a $40,000 membership. Now, a big deal. I know, so much money, right? It's a huge step. And I want to see how you feel about this, because I don't know if you remember, but this was in the news a few years ago where like American Airlines would offer a lifetime like frequent flyer pass. And I think this was quite a long time ago. I think it was like $200,000. And a lot of like multimillionaires and billionaires picked this up. And then like quite a few years ago, Legoland, for example, offered, I think it was like a $3,000 or $4,000 lifetime pass to Legoland, right? So I thought this was the same kind of deal. Like 40,000, is it like a $40,000 lifetime membership to Equinox or something? Not so fast. It actually isn't. So this was shared on CNBC by Robert Flink. Now get this. This is being called Optimized by Equinox. And as you know, Equinox, if you didn't know already, is a very high-end, fancy gym. Okay. We have several here in Southern California. They're launching this luxury $40,000 per year program, not lifetime program, per year program that they're calling optimized by Equinox. And they're targeting obviously the who's who, the shoulder rubbing, the highly affluent individuals looking to enhance their health and extend their lifespan. So the question is, for the very, very wealthy, will they be willing to pay 40,000 a year to extend their lifespan? I'm guessing for many of the very wealthy, the answer is yes. The question is do they want to do this via Equinox? That's going to be the question. So anyhow, this membership is offering this sort of what they call holistic approach to health, and it's going to include things like telling you, what you should be eating, like nutrition guidance, and they're going to take a look and give you some ideas about like improving your sleep, and you're going to get massage therapy, you're going to get personal training, right? You're going to get time in the gym as well, all tailored to your individual needs. I was like, are they going to bring in like, telehealth and like doctors and all that? No, I think they're just really focusing more on um health and fitness and that world, but maybe not yet complete. But maybe that's going to be in their future. But they're going to be collaborating, of course, with Function Health. So that's where that is going to be. But it's not quite complete all in. But Function Health, which is a lab tech startup, is going to provide extensive health assessments, and they're also going to test for about 100 different biomarkers and helping individuals create their personalized health plans. They're also going to do biannual testing, and they're going to give their members lots of support, and of course, making sure that they improve on their fitness, and they do their health testing twice a year, and talking about what to eat, sleep, all that stuff. Yeah. So Ricky is saying we'll get a gold workout. Yeah, it'll be, yeah, mind blowing. That's a lot of money, 40,000 a year. But I guess it's like sort of one stop shop since they have it all figured out. I mean, if you're willing to spend that kind of money each month, you can just show up and call it a day. In fact, I do know the Equinox in our neighborhood even has valet parking options. You don't even have to park your car yourself. You don't even have to bring your own towel. You don't have to bring your own water bottle. Like everything's provided for you. I guess this is just to that next level. So they are planning to expand this. In fact, Equinox has just brought in a recent $1.8 billion funding round and plans to open new location. So this new Equinox is really significantly expanding its footprint into the health and wellness industry, really what's traditionally known as luxury fitness facilities. So it'll be interesting to see how many people love this, how many people utilize this. And I think what would be really really good is if they could somehow get health insurance plans to cover this. I can see that increasing the demand for this as well. So this program, they say, will really stand out because it's not just about physical fitness, but also longevity and the quality of life, which we know the last few years, especially since when the pandemic first started, a lot more interest in longevity and the quality of life, right? So they're saying right now they're going to start by launching this program in New York City and Highland Park, Texas. I thought that was interesting. I thought it would start here in California, but in Texas and New York City, and they plan to expand to other states, of course. And yeah, yeah. Vicky, you say 5-star luxury. All right. Let me know for those of you tuning in right now. Is this something that you would try? Like, let's say they give you a 1 week pass. Would you go check it out? Do you think that this is gonna do well? Do you think there's gonna be enough demand? I wonder about that, but it'll be interesting to see because if you have one member paying 40,000 a year, how many members does it cost to cover the rent or mortgage on the facility of that gym? That'll be interesting. I guess it's sort of you have to think about it that way too. Yep, much to think about. Well, with that, let's take a look at the market currently. The Dow is still in the positive, up 99 points. The Nasdaq's up a whopping 155 points, so that's good. And the S&P 500 is up currently up 42 points as well. So thank you so much, my friends, for being a part of today's Level Up with Winnie Sun. I am so grateful that you've made the time. Do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all things business and all the business, finance, and latest content. Of course, trending important news that I think if you stay on top of it, and it kind of gives you a scope of how the world's doing, also where the world's going as well. And don't forget to watch full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun. You can check out NASDAQ Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and many other platforms. And when sharing the show, make sure to do what Vicky and Joshua do and tag me at Winnie Sun so I can thank you for showing your support for on this future episode. So thank you so much just for being here. And then, of course, you can check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun, which is on Apple Podcasts or wherever you tune in for your podcasting content. With that, be well, take care, have an amazing week, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye now.